today, 11 years ago, I walked through the gates at Hartford County Detention Center, and they closed behind me, and I didn't know what my life was going to be then. And I just remember at that moment, I was, obviously I had, in the weeks prior, I had suicidal thoughts. I was hopeless. I had no idea what was to come, not just in jail, but after, like life after jail. Like, what was I going to do? Because up until that point, I was a complete freaking failure. I had 21 jobs. I had a horrific drug addiction. I was selling a bunch of drugs. I let a lot of people down. I mean, mainly including myself. And I had just had all these things going against me to the point where, like I said, I didn't think I was going to live. I've said that I didn't think I was going to live to see my 25th birthday.
Did you know that the war on drugs has caused the number of people arrested, convicted, and incarcerated for drug-related crime to increase dramatically? According to the Center for Prisoner Health and Human Rights, in 1980, there were 40,900 people incarcerated for drug offenses. And by 2013, this number increased to 489,000. Think about that. Think about that percentage increase from 1980 to 2013. And according to the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University, which estimates that only 11% of incarcerated individuals in need of substance abuse treatment receive it in jail or prison. That's crazy. So where do they get it? It's not inside the prison. It's not inside the system. They have to go outside. And that's why I have Doug Bopst on the show today. He's a former felon and a former drug addict, and he was sentenced to years in jail for his drug addiction. And when he was inside, he used that time to reinvent himself, using his method of fitness, faith, and family. I'm super excited about my conversation with Doug today. It's going to help so many people. So let's get this thing started. Let's get after it. This is Your Superior Self, episode 103, Faith, Family, and Fitness, with fitness trainer Doug Bopst. We have a divine nature that we only faintly recognize. Our true nature is unborn, undying, unmanifest, unconceivable to the ordinary mind. Unborn? Undying? What does this really mean? Well, it's not easy to grasp. It means that those aspects of our lives that we take to be our true self, our personality, our body, our career, our house, our stories, are not our true self at all. Our true self is our soul. This soul is immortal, and it's not limited to the present forms. Our present bodies and personalities are only temporary shelters, fleeting, inhabited by our souls. These forms are at last short-lived. The true self, however, is immortal. It cannot be destroyed. The self is not born. It does not die. Having been, it will never not be. Unborn, enduring, constant, and primordial. It is not killed when the body is killed. And that excerpt was taken from my favorite book, The Great Work of Your Life by Stephen Cope. A guide for the journey to your true calling. This book has helped me and inspired me to put more passion into the work, to put my full being into the work, and not care about the fruits, to not care about the external rewards, but to take satisfaction in the work itself, to put my entire being into the work and trust God. And that is living your Dharma. And you got to trust your Dharma. You got to trust what it is that fulfills you, that is your life's work, that is your life's calling. Always trust that. And then that's when you know your true self, which is the soul. And I know it's hard for some people I know people get frustrated with trying to find their mission, trying to find their why, and I'm here to tell you that I am that person too. However, this book has helped me understand that it is the work that defines us, that it is the effort that we put into our work, our Dharma, that defines us as people. We want to put labels on ourselves, like your name, Trey. That's not who I am. my occupation. Like, that is not who I am. I'm so much more powerful than that. I am a part of this consciousness, of this universal consciousness, and I have this unlimited power inside of me, and you do too. Like, you need to be aware of that, and I think that's what life is just becoming aware, step by step, to that power. Some people never become conscious to that because they never explore that opportunity. They never want to take hold of that and run with it. And I think that they lose so much growth by that, like cruise control to the fullest. And you really got to be open to the idea that life is just one step at a time, and learning along the way with every step. And the path is never going to be well lit. There's no sign that says your journey ends here. You did it. Good job. High five. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, what's going to happen is a ton of crap's going to happen to you, either good or bad. And it's up to you to continue going and continue pushing and continue fighting and continuously making that effort to grow and learn along the way. And that's what makes you a better person. Or you can decide to let life defeat you, and that you're going to roll up and curl up in a corner and cry about it and kick and scream and say, this isn't fair. Why is it happening to me? And that's going to be the way that you live your life. And you're not going to grow, and you're not going to get better. You're going to go in the reverse direction of greatness. But it's up to you to make that choice. Like, do you want to get better? Do you want to be a better father? Because a father is just a title that we put on things. To be a good one, you need to research it. You need to understand what it means to be a good one, and you need to do your best. Like, I want to be a good father. Am I a great father all the time? No, because I have flaws as a human. I do things that I regret. I yell at my kids, and I might make them feel bad at times because they're doing something that I don't want them to do, and I don't know how to communicate that clearly enough. So I get mad and I yell, and then now they're mad at me, and it's like, oh God, I'm probably screwing you up 10 years down the road. However, if I want to be a better father, I have to research it, and I have to read about it and learn how to communicate better. And then that spreads into other areas of my life, and then I can utilize those tools for something else, another project or something like that. That's what life is. It's a whole bunch. It's like a chain reaction. You start improving yourself in one aspect of life, and it filters through the other areas of your life. You want to be a better father or a better husband? Like, research how to be a better husband. Like, how do you communicate clearly? How do you show more emotion? How do you show more affection? How do you make your significant other feel significant? And then that transfers in other areas of your life. It overflows. And that's the greatness about life, is that we just don't know what life is supposed to be. Like, we're here to learn. We're here to gain experiences. We're here to become the best versions of ourselves. And you have to let this be a wake-up call for you. Like, let this be me kicking you in the rear and saying, be aware. Be aware that you listening to this right now, coming through your headphones, the words that you're listening to right now is the permission to start getting better. And that is by accepting the fact that you're something so much more. Like, you are. Think about it. We're on a planet that is rotating around the sun, and that sun is sitting in this solar system. And inside of that solar system is a bunch of other planets. But we're not it. We're not the only thing in the universe. There are many other galaxies out there that have solar systems in them. And you're going to tell me that this is it? Like, no, this is not it for us. This is something that's this is the beginning for us. Like, there's so much more. There's so much power in you. And the first step is just recognizing that power. Like, we can do whatever we want to do. If you don't believe me, look at some of the people out there that are doing it physically and mentally. Look at David Goggins. That guy can run like 100 miles without training. You look at the scientists out there. Look at Elon Musk and some of the accomplishments he's making in the world of space. And I'm not saying everyone's perfect. Yeah, we all have our flaws. But look at the human body. Look at the mind. Look what we can do and what we accomplish. I mean, you think about it back to the hunter-gatherers days, like we were out sharpening sticks, and now we're doing podcasts on MP3s. So I'm just saying, like, guys, we are so much more powerful than what we are. You have to accept it, and you have to be aware to it. And I promise you, you can rewrite you can rewrite your brain. You can rewrite your brain for success. If that's how you define success, like, you can do it. So that is your permission, guys. It's a powerful episode, like, so powerful. I'm not even messing around anymore. But before we get into the interview, I want to give a shout out to my boy Andy Mant. He is the CEO of Blue Blocks, the glasses with the red lenses that you guys see me wear on Instagram. Well, it's an advanced light filtering eyewear, which helps you sleep better at night, that blocks the artificial blue light that projects from your laptops, from your phones, and it helps you sleep better at night because it doesn't mess with your circadian rhythm. So that way your body doesn't reduce the amount of melatonin that's in your body that helps you sleep at night. So do the research. Andy Mant, my boy, CEO, Blue Blocks, get them. And a little social media plugs here. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, you can do that. TDowns80, on Twitter, DownsTrey, Facebook, Trey Downs. Check out the website, yoursuperiorself.com. Leave me a message. Let me know how you're doing. Guys, this is a powerful episode, and I'm excited to get into it. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Doug Bopst. What is going on, Superior Nation? Welcome back to another episode. Today I have Doug Bopst on the show. He is a fellow Baltimorean, and it's an honor to have him on the show. He has a truly inspirational story. He's an entrepreneur, author, speaker. Doug, welcome to the show.
Trey, man, thanks for having me. I'm glad we could finally make this work.
Absolutely, man. I know we've been trying hard. We're both busy. Your brand is picking up steadily every week. You've been on some phenomenal shows, USA Today, Impact Theory, so many more. I think the Hollis, you've been on the, was it Rachel Hollis or was it her husband?
Yeah, I did the Rise Together podcast with Dave Hollis. That was fun too. He's a good dude.
That is awesome, dude. So tell me, I mean, how has life been in the last couple of months?
Trey, it's been kind of crazy. It's like, I get asked a lot, like, about going on shows and about going on podcasts and about sharing my story and speaking and what it's like. And what I say is it's a lot of work. I mean, it's very fulfilling for me. I love it. It's cool. Like, the notoriety obviously is nice, and having like things that I'll be able to use for the rest of my life. But more importantly for me, it's when I get these messages from people, whether it's moms, dads, mainly, from the parenting side, it's moms, or just people who are struggling, and have defined themselves and just said that my story's been an inspiration to them. But I tell you, man, it's like, it's a lot of work to get your message out there. It takes a lot of time, outside of, because I have a training business. So outside of that, I'm constantly just, researching, connecting with people, building relationships with people, and just trying to continue to make the next step. But yeah, I mean, I guess my brand is growing. I mean, I've heard a few people say that it's kind of, blowing up a little bit, but I just kind of try to keep my eye on my soul and what, fires me up inside and going from there.
Yeah, man, that's powerful, dude. Like, did you ever imagine being here right now? Like, looking back and seeing where you're at and how far you've come, like, that's gotta be crazy.
No, I mean, today actually is 11 years since, and that I've been in recovery. It's crazy. That, today, 11 years ago, I walked through the gates at Harford County Detention Center, and, and they closed behind me, and I didn't know what my life was going to be then. And I just remember at that moment, I was, obviously I had, in the weeks prior, I had suicidal thoughts. I was hopeless. I had no idea what was to come, not just in jail, but after, like, life after jail. Like, what was I going to do? Because up until that point, I was a complete freaking failure. I had 21 jobs. I had a horrific drug addiction. I was selling a bunch of drugs. I was I let a lot of people down. I mean, mainly including myself. And I had just had all these things going against me to the point where, like I said, I didn't think I was going to live I've said that I didn't think I was going to live to see my 25th birthday. And now, as I look back, it's very humbling to sit here and look back and be like, wow, like look at everything that's happened. And I think people ask like what's been the secret thing for me, right? Because I didn't go to AA or NA. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like I never did. I'm not that I have anything against it. I didn't. I kind of went just a completely different alternate route. And for me, it's just been taking care of myself mentally, physically, and spiritually, like all levels of my health. Whether it was healing from emotional pain and trauma, not not hanging out with the people that I was doing a bunch of drugs with, changing my environment to support more of a healthy lifestyle, setting goals, taking ownership for myself, which I'd never really done. Like I'd never been able to look in the mirror. Because here's what happens, Trey, like, and I'm convinced of this. If you have really low self-esteem and you feel like complete crap about yourself, you can't take ownership and responsibility for when you make mistakes, because then it is internally like you don't have the self-esteem to be aware of that kind of stuff. So I never had that. And it wasn't until I started exercising and I could see that, yeah, I have control over certain things, that game over. If I wanted to change, I needed to change. And I had to let go of that victim mentality too, man. So like, and little by little, just blind faith, like literally like 24 hours, I was like, all right, if I know that if I can just be so passionate and relentless and driven to become a better version of me tomorrow than I am today, like I'll win, or I have a shot at winning. And if I don't, I lose. I mean, because that was the mentality I had, and then just little by little, these small wins added up, and then over time, I look back and I was like, wow, like I got into recovery for a year and I haven't used drugs, or I've lost 50 pounds. What's next? Oh, I'm going to become a trainer. Oh, what's next? I'm going to become the top producing trainer in my company, which, again, like not to brag, I just knew I was aligned because I knew things just happened like naturally. Like I didn't have to. It didn't seem like work, right? And then I was like, okay, what's next? I'm going to write a book, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And then slowly I look back now, and that's kind of what's happened is like, it's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I mean, it's been really a blessing, man.
Mm. So going back and unpacking all of that, right? Like, so you had problems with drugs, alcohol, you were incarcerated, and you said something that stuck out. It was self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that was the root cause of all of that. Like,
Right.
what was the cause of the low self-esteem?
I think for me, I was bullied in school. I was picked on. I mean, I wasn't like, I think I wasn't like the kid who would like get stuffed in lockers or anything, but I definitely was made fun of. I mean, I was told I looked like I had Down syndrome because I was like 50 pounds heavier than I am now, and I was pretty chubby, for my size. I'm only 5'8", 5'9". And then I also just was in a position where I loved sports. Like I loved everything about sports. Problem was I was uncoordinated. I couldn't jump, and I was slow and scared. So I was horrible at sports. I always got picked last. Like I always got cut from the teams. So, that obviously didn't make me feel good about myself. My parents got divorced. So I had that. Because back then, like not a lot of families I was the only kid I knew that had my friend that whose parents were divorced. So all these things that like started adding up. That was like, well, what's wrong with me, right? And then I had a strained relationship with my dad. So like these things just started snowballing, and then I had no luck with women, which was a big thing for me because for me I just had like I just felt like this yearning for like to be loved, and I felt like when I wasn't when I had no luck with girls, it was like, am I ever going to be loved, right? Because that was going through my mind. And as I look back, the cause of a lot of my low self-esteem was that, not that like, and I know now you hear like, you hear me or whoever else, we talk about how you got to, create your own fulfillment, your own happiness. It's hard though when you're like 13 years old. Like, what are you going to tell a 13-year-old kid? Like, yeah, like watch Impact Theory and
Yeah.
read this book. Like, while that's awesome, but like a 13-year-old is going to be like, I mean, hope you would want them to, you know how it is. Like, so I think there's also some truth that you do get some fulfillment from external sources. It just can't be like the main driver.
Yeah, it's tough to get people to, I guess, wake up to their potential or wake up or become conscious to that they're, they hold the key to their self betterment, right? Like we all are able to get better. We're all able to become the person that we want to become, but we don't, we don't know that really, right? I mean, I feel like with all the distractions and everything that's going on in society and life in general, it's like all the noise just kind of blinds us and kind of hypnotizes us into looking at our phones all the time and having these limiting beliefs. And whenever somebody tries to get out of that, it's like all of our friends are like trying to pull us back in. And I feel like you had a little bit of that, right? Like your friends had a big influence on you.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. They weren't like holding a gun to my head or anything, but it's just like you're trying to fit in, right? You're trying to do what everybody else is doing, and then when that fitting in and doing what everybody else is doing makes you feel good, it's kind of like a tornado, right? Because like you do drugs to make you feel good. I mean, there wouldn't be one person that does drugs that because they wanted to feel bad. Like nobody does drugs to feel bad, right? They do drugs to numb pain. They do drugs. Obviously, they get addicted, but they get addicted because they wanted a good feeling, right? So, um, and I think like peer pressure. It's like I don't think peer pressure is. It's not like, hey, dude, do this, do this. I think the
Mm-hmm.
bigger peer pressure is when you try to stop. When people will peer pressure you into being like, hey, like, why are you doing that? Like, you shouldn't stop. Like, really? Like, you better than us? That's where I think the bigger problem with peer pressure comes in. I don't think it's as bad like at the beginning. Um, I think that it's when you are in it and you pull back that people are like,
Yeah.
well, hey, like,
They're
why are
like,
you
wait a minute. They're like, what? Why are you trying to stop? Like, we
right?
enjoy this. Like, and then they see that, and they know how painful it'd be for them to like quit, right? And they see you doing it, and it's just showing how weak they are. And it's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, you had to get arrested. You had to go to jail. You had to go. I mean, I guess it's prison, right? Like you had to go to prison to hit your lowest low, and that's when you met your cellmate, who then turned everything around for you. So why don't you go ahead and like fill us in on like up to that moment, right? Like, so why you were arrested, up to the point where you met your cellmate.
Yeah. So, I I had a horrible opiate addiction. I mean, coke addiction, opiate addiction, and it was so bad that like my nose, I would get like nosebleeds. My like half my left nostril was missing just from like putting so much stuff up it. Um, and a lot of that obviously was to mask a lot of the pain that we were talking about earlier. And I began to sell tons of pot to support my habits. Like I mean, I was picking up a few pounds a week. Um, to support not only my habit to support, but to also like fund like me going out and partying all the time, right? Because it was like I was in strip clubs, I was spending money at the bar, like all this stuff, right? And I was just so like unhappy with myself because internally I was like, I thought I was a smart kid, I had these aspirations, so I had all these deep fears and insecurities that continued to grow the more I used drugs. Like people think that drugs will help them. I mean, they don't think, they just do it and they
Mm-hmm.
feel like it does help their insecurities and fears momentarily, but long term it just makes it worse. So, um, my drug addiction in 2008, I was 19, no, shoot, 20. I had gotten so out of control, like I was spending, I don't know, like a couple $100 a day to grab like 400 milligrams of, opiates on a regular basis. And it just everything kind of came to a head. Cinco de Mayo, 2008. I was riding around with a few of my friends who could pick up some OxyContin. I looked in my rearview mirror, and a cop had been pulled me over. Make a long story short, I had a busted headlight, and I high beamed a cop so he wouldn't see when he was running radar. It was at night, and he pulled me over, and right then and there, I just knew like my life was over. I was like, felt my heart went into my stomach, and I just was like, all right, this is it, right? And they pulled me out of the car after like a couple things. They found an open container in the car my friend had in the back seat, and so they pulled me out and searched my car, found a half pound of pot, $2,000 in cash, and they arrested me and charged me with felony drug charge, intent to distribute marijuana. Took me to jail, booked me. I had bail. Like both my friend, both my friends got like let go on their own recognizance. I had bail. My first time ever being arrested as an adult, and I was scared, man. And I just remember my dad bailing me out. I got out the next day. And then, like, as a felony, it's like there was an arraignment, so they had to have an arraignment. Like, I forget when. It's like a month or two later, and I went. Then I got, I had that. I saw all my charges, and I went to court in September of 2008, Circuit Court of Harford County, and the judge, he kind of I thought was throwing the book at me, but it was like a blessing in disguise because like I ended up pleading guilty to the felony intent to distribute marijuana, and he sentenced me to 5 years, suspended everything but 90 days, 200 hours community service, 5 years probation, all kinds of drug class and fines. But he said, Doug, if you complete everything without messing up, like no missed probation appointments, no failed drug tests, I'll take the felony conviction off your record and give you a PBJ after the 5 years. And I was standing in court, 20 years old, I'm young and dumb, high in court, I was going to get high when I got out. And I was like, I'm not going to live to see my 25th birthday. Like, what's it matter? And at that point, it was like 2000. It was what? It was 2008. And I was like, well, 2012, the world's supposed to end. Remember that whole thing? So I was like, what's the point? Well, anyway, I get out, report to jail about a week after my 21st birthday. Today, like October 21st, 2008, is when I reported to jail. I was scared, man, because I was still, the last thing I did, of course, was, the smartest thing, right? I snorted a couple 100 milligrams of opiates, and I detoxed in there cold turkey for weeks. Yeah. It was like, people ask what it's like. It's like you feel like you're trying to crawl out of your own skin. You got like uncontrollable amounts of like panic and anxiety. You have all this pain because I was taking like enough to kill a horse where like, so all these movements that I was making, and I wasn't exercising or I wasn't doing anything to take care of my health. I was achy and I was irritable. Like had like uncontrollable bowel movements. Like, and my soon-to-be cellmate, Eric, was sitting at the table playing Scrabble, and he was like, what are you doing here, man? I was like, I'm in here for selling weed. He was like, because, I guess I didn't look the part, right? Mm-hmm. And I just remember that night just seeing him in there, doing like all these push-ups and pull-ups and running. And he's like, you're going to start working out with me when you get done your detox. I was like, no way, man. Like, have you seen this guy? And after him nudging me, I just finally was like, what do I have to lose? Let me give it a try. I got down to a push-up, couldn't do a push-up, couldn't even do one from my knees. And with his motivation and encouragement, training me in there every day, I was able to like do a set of 10 push-ups, run a mile. And I had this mindset shift, like I was talking about earlier, because I remember getting in there and complaining to him about my life. I was like, this is so-and-so's fault, and woe is me, and da-da-da-da-da. And he was like, quit being a bitch. I can say that on here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. He's like, quit being a bitch. And I just was like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you're being a bitch. He was like, you're complaining about your problems. You're blaming everybody else. He's like, if you want to be a bitch, go cry in the corner, blame everybody else. Don't take responsibility for yourself. Be a victim, like all this stuff, right? And he was like, or you can be a man and own your choices. He's like, you got yourself here. He's like, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what happened in your life, you responded in a way that got you here. Like, whether you like it or not, like, you're here. He's like, so what are you going to do about it? And that was when I really, like, having him say stuff, like I talked about earlier, about when you have low self-esteem and you're insecure, that it's really hard for you to take ownership and personal accountability and responsibility because you already feel so bad about yourself. So when you admit to yourself you do something wrong, it's going to make you feel, it's going to make you feel worse. That I just felt like I had this power I never had before. And, the push-ups and the running just gave me this confidence to the point where I just knew I was going to make it. I had this feeling. I was like, I knew I was going to make it. And he gave me a workout plan that I still have framed in my place today, so I never forget where I came from. Got out, followed his plan, and lost 50 pounds, and got to a certain point in my own fitness journey where I wanted to help other people use fitness to change their lives. And that's when Um, I got a job as a trainer back in 2000. I became a trainer back in April 2011, and I've been doing it ever since, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. You talk about self empowerment. So you go from like no self esteem to going to a place where a lot of men, I mean, never recover their self esteem whatsoever. And that's where you kind of build your foundation. That's where you build your stories from jail.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like my biggest setback became my biggest blessing, and it's like a lot of times those kind of things happen if we're able to open up our eyes a little bit and be on the lookout for it. Because I think a lot of times when we're in those storms, the times of darkness, and I've been there, and I still go through. I mean, people are like, "Oh, your life must be great. Like you've been on the Today Show and Impact Theory, like your life's perfect." I'm like, yeah, right. I mean, like, because my biggest fear right now, man, is like self sabotaging on my success.
I
Like,
mean, it happens. Like it could definitely happen.
well, no, because my thing is like, I mean, and I don't think it will. I mean, I hope not. Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But I'm always like, do I really like deserve this? Like,
Uh,
how did I get from there to here? Is something gonna happen to like adjust so I have to like go backwards to like, you know what I mean?
yeah, it's that imposter syndrome, man. Like you don't like you like yeah, it's like they say once you hit a level of success, you kind of feel like you don't belong in the room because your story is so different than others. But in reality, we've all had to work hard to get there, and you just kind of it's I mean, I'm assuming that like I don't know, like the level of success that you've reached so far, it's
Yeah. Go ahead.
the level of success that you've reached so far, right? I mean, you've had to come up through some shit, right? So once you, and now you're sitting next to Tom Bilyeu, you're on the Today Show. I mean, you're sitting around these other people, and it's like your story is your story, and you just seem like you're just thinking in the back of your mind, hey, look, this is what I had to go through. But to others, it's inspirational. It's a motivational story. It's something that's going to help turn their lives around. But you don't see it like that, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I think like it's just really hard, man, when um like you get to the point where you get to a level of success and you're like, am I going to be able to keep this up? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, but you just got to keep going, right? Like you got to, I mean, you've like, all right, so you've been on Impact Theory, and I just listened to it today just to kind of brush up on you and get some of the research done for the show. And it's like you were getting like some tough questions thrown at you, like some deep dive in therapeutic stuff, right? Like I was like, damn, like Tom's just going hard, but you're like, you stood behind your story, you stood behind what you've been through, and it's like it's inspiring to hear that, right? And that story is not like a lot of other people's stories. Like it's, I mean, you had to really build yourself up inside of jail, inside of prison, like, and make yourself who you are today.
yeah, man. I mean, I kind of you had to do it from within. And for me, it was just taking a look inside myself and seeing all the mistakes that I had made and seeing um, what things had gone wrong and how I could adjust to make them right. And doing things like fitness and changing my mindset on how I talked to myself, how I walked, my posture, like a certain, because I had this different swagger about myself, right? And like it's just inspired me to keep going. Like, what's next? What's next? What's next? That's one of the things I struggle with is giving myself some grace, being like, Doug, like, come on, like you've accomplished a lot. Like, just it's okay if you. But to me, it's like, I mean, keep going. Like, why
Mm.
stop?
Yeah. And like this goes back to what you were saying before about self sabotage, right? Like you can definitely self sabotage, but that's only if you quit. Like that's only if you stop your journey. Like that's the only way you can self sabotage. But if you keep going and keep pushing and keep working, like you're going to be successful in your own way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to keep doing the things work. Keep, for me, like hanging out with great people, keep exercising, staying grounded in spirituality, having gratitude, like attending conferences, being involved with different seminars, having coaches, like because yeah, I mean, part of me obviously in the back of my mind is like it's gonna be like the stock market. Is there gonna be some sort of correction? But you know what I mean? Like, but
But I
just
guess it's like if you're looking for
I mean, I don't think like that all the time.
yeah. But I mean, it's if you're looking at external stuff too. Like, I mean, if you're looking for external satisfaction, then that stock market theory comes into play. But if you're always looking internally inside and improving on yourself and just keep going for the next thing, then there never will be that dissatisfaction. There will never be that crash because you're always improving on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my goal is just to be a better version of me every single day. So like, like the shows, like being on Impact Theory, being on Today's Show, all that stuff, it's cool, but it doesn't drive. Like, it's not like what fills me. It's not like I get filled up and I'm like, ooh, like Doug's a better person because of that. It's like, yeah, no, like because of myself, and some blessings I've had in my life, doing a lot of work and staying focused, having a vision, having goals, having dreams, and like having the courage to chase them, like in that continual like addiction to get better. And just like, all right, if I'm slacking off here, how can I get better in this area, that area, or the other? Like, what can I continue to do? And because I think a lot of people, and I was talking about this today when I went live on Instagram, and I was like, you can read all that self-help books, you can watch listen to all the podcasts, but if you don't like do the work, like all that stuff's pointless. It's easy to listen to it. The hard thing is applying it.
Absolutely, dude. It's like, what is it? I read it somewhere where you can read a book about push-ups, but you're never going to get like, a nice chest on you unless you actually do the work, right? Do the push-ups. And it's what you're doing right now. You're doing the work. You're doing the reps. And it's interesting, man. Like, what fulfills you? Like, what is it that fulfills you about your work?
It's just changing people's lives, man. Giving people hope. And really just being like a good dude, like fulfills me. You know what I mean? Like how I carry myself, how I treat people, just doing the right thing. But also like having like a swagger about me where I'm confident in what I'm doing, to know that I still have that drive and I still have that passion to like make things happen, but also being able to do the right thing, right? Because I think a lot of people, it's like they either have not all, but many people have one or the other, right? They're either like have that passion and just keep going, that drive, but they might not be the nicest person. And then there's people who are like so too nice and they just kind of walk around like tiptoeing around life and not really taking any chances because they're like afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. I've tried to blend myself into a way of having both, right? Where, just trying to be different and unique, being like, okay, it's cool to be successful. It's cool to like have goals and be driven and also be like a good person and have compassion, have empathy. And, because I think at the end of the day, like you can put all your validation material things like likes, shares, downloads, followers, all that stuff, cars, houses. But if you're not happy with yourself, it doesn't matter. Like none of that stuff matters because you're just going to keep needing more of it, more of it, and more of it. It's an addiction, right? That's the thing. It's like I never want to get to a point where I'm basing my internal validation of myself on external things, because then that sets me up to fail, and not just fail like, oh, you're going to learn, like fail like big time. You know what I mean? And I don't ever want to be in that position again, because I was in that position, and it's just not a good place to be in.
Yeah. I was finding myself getting to that point, like with the show and the increase in like, watching the downloads, and as they're going up, like that dopamine hit, just watching that, and then social media, and I was getting wrapped up in that, and it was like, man, I had to take a step back and was like, damn, dude, like it's not all about that, right? Like it's not about the external satisfaction. It's about internal validation for yourself, and it's doing the work that, it's great that you're helping people out there, rethink how they're living and rethinking how they live their lives. But internally, you have to be happy with what you're doing. And it can't be for the next like, it can't be for the next click. It can't be for the next download. It has to be, I'm trying to look at the podcast more as a form of art, right? Like art by audio, and creating art for people to enjoy. And I get the fulfillment of putting together a conversation like this Doug, that is very powerful for them, and I get to produce it and put it out there, and then I leave it at that. So like I completely stop looking at, I might promote on social media and things of that nature, but my fulfillment is coming from creating the artwork that is associated with the episode, and just getting the, connecting with you and having a personal conversation with you and being vulnerable, and listening to your story, and allowing you to be vulnerable on my platform. And like that fulfillment right there to me is something that the external world can't provide. And I think a lot of people get wrapped up in Facebook and social media and things of that nature. And I know it's easy to say, but it's hard to like put your phone down for like 5 seconds and kind of, look inward. But I mean, you're doing that with your community, with your brand. You're helping others rethink their lives, and it's not easy. And the fitness industry is, I think it's full of like a lot of noise, right? And a lot of quick getting fit schemes and things of that nature. But you have a strong story associated with your brand, and that gives it validation. It gives it that meaning when people see Doug Bopst and they're like, this guy completely changed his life. Went from being incarcerated to owning. Do you own your own gym now, or do you have your own business?
Yeah, I don't own a gym, but I own my own business. Yeah, I own my own training business, so I have my own.
So you go from that to this, and people can get behind that, and people can support that, and people can believe in that. And I mean, you're doing good work, brother.
Yeah, man. I mean, I appreciate the kind words. I just think it helps that I've been in a lot of these same positions as some of my clients, where they don't feel good about themselves, they're lacking self-esteem. And you're right. There's a lot of noise in the fitness industry. I just kind of keep my ear to the ground a little bit, stay like kind of low, and just kind of just do the right thing and just speak truth into people, and not trying to do things for the wrong reasons. And there's a lot of people that they'll try to sell you something to make a quick dollar, and it's like, if it doesn't align with what their goals are and all this other stuff, then it's like, I'm not gonna do. I mean, everything's just all about being aligned, right? Making sure things fit in with what my vision is, what my purpose is, my heart, and not chasing that after anything outside of that.
What is like your first chat like when you get like a new client? Like, what does it sound like? Are you just evaluating them physically? Or are you kind of trying to feel them out, like who they are mentally?
I mean, I like to train people from the inside out. I think that's why my training is a little different. Like, I like to work on them internally. Like, I like to ask them different questions. I mean, yeah, I ask them what their exercise history is like, their injuries, previous training goals, all that stuff. But when we talk about goals, I get into like the why, and I really ask them to get deep. Like, so it's not just surface level, because wanting to lose 10 pounds is so surface level. Even like wanting to feel good is surface level. So I really try to get in the nitty gritty to have somebody say something like, I'm terrified to look at myself in the mirror just because, I'm just ashamed of who I've become. And I think about like, how, unhealthy I'm going to be for my kids when they're older. That's my motivation for wanting to lose. Like, that's a deep, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, that's so different than being like, oh, I just want to lose 10, 15, 20 pounds.
Yeah. Well, what do you say to people like when you feel like they're going to give up? Like when you get somebody who's at the very beginning of their journey and like they can't do 5 push-ups and they're wanting to give up. Like do you get down and do you get loud? What do you say to them?
I'm not a yeller. I'm not like a drill sergeant when I train, but I definitely encourage them to keep going, and it's more positive reinforcement, saying things, along the lines of, you can do it. Just remember, like, you're better than you were yesterday, and just it's okay if you have to stop. Just don't quit on yourself. And I also tell them, like I said on impact theory, like reaching a goal, like it sucks, but quitting like assures you that you're not going to reach that goal. So which suck do you want? You know what I mean? Like you guarantee yourself if you quit, you're not gonna get those push-ups. So why not embrace the challenge, learn something about yourself, gain confidence, prove to yourself you can do something you never thought you could do, get stronger, all this stuff along the way, instead of, because that's what happens is people, like, they get so bent out of shape with themselves because they give up on something. And that's what's even worse is the shame behind that. It's not that they didn't do it. It's just the shame because they know they should be doing that. You hear people are always asking, how do you build self-confidence? Easy way to build self-confidence is to do the things you said you were going to do. Like, just do that. The things you told yourself you were going to do for you, continually do them every single day.
I love that.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people who are depressed and they're like falling out of whack and stuff like that. And not that like there's not like chemical depression, there's not certain events that cause it. I'm not saying I'm not talking about this at all. I'm just talking about like the general people who get who beat themselves up normally because they're doing stuff, or they're not doing the things they know they should be doing. They're not working out. They're not hanging out with good people. They're not fulfilled in their job. They're not eating whatever it is, right? That they're in a relationship they shouldn't be in. And so they feel bad about themselves.
Yeah, man, those are all like the biggest fears that people have, right? Like, so, you were talking about people giving up because, it's all directly tied to fear, right? So if they give up, it's giving them control that they won't have. Well, the shame will be there, but the disappointment, right? They're in control of that. So if I quit doing something today, I'm taking that in my own power to quit. But if I keep going and keep trying, then whatever I'm trying to do might not happen. So one day I might be disappointed. It might be out of my control. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I feel like if people quit on their own, they're like, I'm taking control and I'm quitting. So that way I'll never be, disappointed. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense or not.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like you have to. I think it has to be that point where you start doing things for yourself, right? Because I know, like, when you let somebody down, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
When you let somebody else down, like, you have this fear, like, oh, they're going to be mad, they're going to be disappointed. But that's when you really have to, like, be like, all right, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for anybody else. Yes, me doing this is going to impact my relationship with my spouse. It's going to impact my relationship with my kids. It's going to impact my profession. But at the end of the day, like, you're not doing it solely for them. Like, there has to be a deep yearning inside of you to want to do that. And then, yes, it will correlate into better success in other areas of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, what other areas in your life has this helped you?
I mean, everything. My job, my confidence, and my like reaching out to people, networking, my relationships, my family, like being able to have healthy relationships, being able to set boundaries, having the confidence to set boundaries and like with people in my family or with, friends or whatever it is. And then also just like, I'm just so hyper aware of myself and I'm so like in tune with who I am, what I want, where I'm going. Like I'm really like, dialed in with that. That it's easy for me to say no to stuff. I don't really get too overwhelmed because I'm like, if it doesn't align with where I'm going, I'm just like, no, sorry. Doesn't align.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually, because I think
take time to make decisions, right? I take a lot of time to think things through and be like, I mean, is this a good fit? What's the long-term, return? Because like, it's important to think things. A lot of people don't think things through and they make these like brass decisions and they end up getting themselves involved in things they never should have gotten involved with. And then it can impact their life sincerely. And so just making sure that like whatever I'm doing is just really like fits with what I'm trying to accomplish. And that might be different. I might be different than a lot of people in doing that. It's just worked for me through the years because I used to just chase like the next shiny object. When I was like first got into my training business, I would just chase like the next certification or I'd chase the next project. And what happened was I did like 100 things half-ass. So I would rather do 4 or 5 things like really good than 15 half-ass. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely, man. Jack of all trades, master of none, right? Like if you just keep chasing that shiny object, you're just chasing the next thing. You're not really focusing in on what you're really good at. And you said one thing that did stick out was your relationships. And I think I remember, if I'm remembering correctly in your story, that you had kind of strengthened your relationship with your mom.
Yeah, my mom and I I don't want to say we never had a relationship, but I made a lot of bad choices when I was a kid. I got kicked out of her house on my 16th birthday. I had a party when she was in the hospital. all this stuff that was just bad. I had a lot of regret and shame behind it. And there was a lot of work, there was a lot of trust that I broke because, as a mom, you want your little boy to succeed, you want him to do well and all that stuff. And I just broken those trusts. And, so obviously it created tension in our relationship, created tension in me and hurt my self-esteem, right? I mean, obvious, there's a big thing now with, you look at like issues in different relationships, you look at issues in your life, and a lot of it stems from your childhood and your parents, right? And so I knew that if I wanted to have like a good relationship in a marriage, if I wanted to be aligned with the right person in my life, if I wanted to have a good relationship with myself, I know I need to do the work on myself to then in prayer and in faith repair the relationship with my mom so it wouldn't haunt me the rest of my life. Because if I had all this resentment, anger, sadness inside of me that just sat there, it would spill out in other areas of my life. That's just the way it is. You don't see, there's people who are angry inside. They're angry to other people. I mean, hurt people, right? Mm. And so I knew that I just had to do it. And it wasn't me calling her on the phone, begging her to like change or to believe me, whatever. It was me, like, it was action, right? Like, it doesn't really matter what your audio says. It matters what your video says. You can talk to talk all day long. You can say you're going to change. You're going to say you're going to do this. You can say you're sorry. But if you don't change, then all that stuff is it's lying and manipulation. And so I had to make some tough calls with myself and be like, if I want my relationship with my mom to improve, then I have to do it. And so that's what I did, man. And over time, like, our relationship grew, and little by little, it wasn't easy. And then, like, one day I remember us having like a talk we were eating, and this is probably 5 years ago. And we really had like a heart to heart on some things. And now, like, my brothers and I walked her down the aisle. She just got remarried it's been 2 months now. And we have a really good relationship. I was over there last night for dinner, and I mean, our relationship's better than it's ever been. And I honestly, like, I 100% correlate that to me taking responsibility for my actions and owning my shit and doing the work, which is hard. It's not easy. It's not like I sit here and like, yeah, it was like one of the easiest things I had to do. Everybody should do it. Hell no. It's freaking hard. It's, you know how hard it is to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, these are all the mistakes I've ever made. These are all my flaws. These are the things that I know, like, I need to be working on. These are who I need to apologize to. Oh yeah. And by the way, like, you got to, like, also change, like, the rest of your life around too. I mean, that stuff's hard, man. But again, like, I was just one of those guys that was just like, I'll do whatever it freaking takes. I mean, within reason, right? You know what I mean? Like, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with forgiveness too, like forgiving yourself.
Yeah, man.
For all the fuck ups you've had.
Yeah, dude. 100%.
And being able to, all right, I'm not going to be perfect. So I have this game plan. I have this plan that I've thought out in my head or written down, whatever. And I want to follow this plan. And not every day is going to be the best day. Like, you're going to have days where you feel like shit, like you don't want to do anything. And, you might screw up. You might have, you might do, explode. You might fucking, I don't know, relapse. I don't know, whatever it is that you struggle with. But you have to be able to forgive yourself and start back. Right. And when you start back on that path, like, you got to give it your all to walk that line, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, because otherwise what happens is, like, it just, like, whatever you're holding on to, it becomes like a burden in your heart. It just sits there. Right. And it just will rot in your relationships. It'll rot in your work. I mean, the only reason I say is I lived it. Right. Like, and I know Damon talks about being the coffee bean. That's so freaking true. Like,
isn't it? It's crazy how true that is, dude.
I mean, you think about, like, what the way he describes it, and it's like, it's so true, because if you're full of, like, if you're that egg and you got anger and resentment and sadness and all this stuff built up inside of you, it's a matter of time before it just spills out. And it might not spill out on your, like, friends or your coworkers, but it'll spill out in, like, your immediate relationships, because it's just like your body doesn't know anything else. And so I knew I had to fix that. Right. And it was like a lot of time, and it's not like I've completely, like, I'm not like perfect by any means, but I'm really self-aware that if I do something wrong, I apologize. Or if there's something I know I need to work on within myself, I do my best to work on it. Or if like there's something I know I should be doing that I'm not doing, all these things that I never did before. Because otherwise, all I did before was play the blame game. That's the easiest way to cope, right? Just blame the other person. Even though deep down, all blaming does is just, if the person, for me, I knew, like, now that I've learned, if you just blame something for something they didn't do, if the person's like really like has a good level of self-esteem and a good head, they blame you, it honestly like will push that person further away, because they're going to be like, well, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, instead of focusing on the real problem, which is deep inside of you, you're just kind of, you're kind of just pushing it on the other person. And it's like all that negativity. It's like the coffee bean, like you were just talking about. Like Damon says, everything that he puts in there, what is it? It's like the egg and something else. And then when you find
carrot and a coffee bean.
Yeah. And then when you put the coffee bean inside the boiling water, the water doesn't change the coffee bean changes the water. And so like basically saying, don't let the your external circumstances influence you. You influence the external circumstances. Like, don't let your friends to dumb it down for people like me. Don't let your friends change who you are. You change your friends, or you change your environment.
Yeah, you got to do the work within you to spread happiness and joy, right? Because it's like, it's easy to play the blame game and say, I'm not where I am because of this person, or I'm not where I am, and that's like that's the egg, or the carrot or whatever, and the egg, the person who's like all hardened up, and like every time you try to like give them some piece of advice, they just automatically like get angry, upset, or whatever, and blame you. When deep down, you feel worse, because when you blame somebody else for something they didn't do, or something you need to work on, it's like you feel bad because you took something out on them, and then internally you also feel bad because you need to work on it. So it's like, I think when you're able to flip the switch and say and change the lens you see, your perspective, and saying like anytime you need to work on something, it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, because at the end of the day, no one's perfect, right? I always say, if I was perfect, what would be the point of living? What would be the point?
Absolutely. The whole point of life is to learn, right? To live the journey, to love the journey, and to grow, and to just keep trying. That's the whole point of life, is we don't come with all the knowledge. We take baby steps one day at a time.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about, man. It's not about being the best. It's not about, being the smartest. It's just about being like the best you, man. It's about like, how do you show up every single day for people in your life? Are you like giving energy to them, or are you sucking it out of them? Because there's a lot of people in your life that just suck energy out of you. And I get rid of them. I cut them out like cancer, man. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm bad for doing that, but like, because anytime anybody who negatively impacts my energy or my mental health, like, it's gone. Because it's like life's too short, number one, and two, I saw back then like what happened when I did that. I let a lot of people do that to me early on, and you don't end up in a good place. And I mean, I got some pretty lofty goals and things I want to accomplish in life, like. And I need people in my life that like get that, and that are pushing me, and they're not like just constantly draining me. I mean, and it's tough because you want to be nice and you want to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, like, you got to put yourself first.
What do you want to do next? Like, what's next on your goals?
I mean, I definitely want to continue to build my speaking career out. Doing some online coaching, which I've dabbled in a little bit. I mean, I found like a lot of like passion in that. I like the online coaching world. I feel like I have a lot to offer as far as like some mindset coaching and helping people, work through some mental blocks. Hopefully a podcast will be coming soon.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's kind of, early on in the seed stages. I mean, as far as like just trying to figure out, what to do. And then, just continuing to build a relationship with my girlfriend. Because I think it's not just all work for me. I mean, there's other things in my life that I have I value. I mean, work, it's probably not even at the top. I mean, it's just what people ask me about the most, because they see how my story is as transcribed into my work,
Mm.
which is cool, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see another Baltimore guy doing something good in this world, right?
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like I got a lot of like messages, whether I was on Rich Roll's podcast or the Rise Together or Impact Theory or the big like the ones where people like I guess they normally are used to like seeing people who aren't from Baltimore, I guess, on it. And they would they like DM me or they emailed me or they're like, hey, like you're from Baltimore? Like I live in Falston or I live in there. I was like,
That's
oh,
awesome, man. That's crazy, right? Like, so you go from impact theory, you pitch yourself to get on that, and I guess the producer or whoever's in charge over there says, "Yeah, let's get you on." And then next thing you know, you're going on a whole like podcast tour.
yeah. I mean, that kind of what started it was, I guess, I got on the Today Show. They ran something in January. Then Men's Health did something, and then Cheddar, which is like a big online cable network up in New York. I was on, and then then I went on Rich Roll's podcast, and that was and then things started to really build off of that, and then I pitched myself to Impact Theory. And this is like why it pays to take chances. I never expected in a million years to get on. I just remember DMing the guy. I'm like, hey, who do I pitch? And he's like, me. And then I pitched him, and he was like, oh, he's like, dude, I think you'd be perfect for the show. I'm like, wait, what? And
Man, that's crazy.
and then he was like, but I still have to clear it with Tom. And then when I got the yes from that, I was like, I remember it was 2 a.m. because they were on California. I was jumping up, and it was something crazy time. I was so happy.
Oh, I bet.
Just because I followed those guys for so long, and I remember when I got out there, I just remember just being so I was just more thankful because it just it changed. I don't want to say it didn't change my self confidence but believe me, I had a panic attack on my way to go. I'm in the car from my my place going to Impact Theory, and it's funny. I remember calling my girlfriend. I was freaking out because I was so nervous. Because I just it's this guy who's it was meeting a guy you he was he was he'd be on my list of people you would want to have dinner with
Sure.
Tom you, right? And just being what if I suck, what if I fail? And I remember leaving, dude, and I remember asking Tom and a couple other people dude, you freaking killed it. We asked you some hard questions, you killed it. And I remember leaving, and I was so devastated because I thought I freaking was horrible. I remember having an anxiety attack, because I was just oh my God, I'm going to go in front of millions of people, and I was just the worst. I was freaking horrible. And I just remember my girlfriend just telling me I'm sure you did awesome. Show yourself some grace, give yourself some credit. And that's my biggest thing is it's I'm so my biggest, one of my the things that I struggle with, and I don't want to call it it can be a struggle, is I'm not a perfectionist by any means. I'm not like that at all. At the same time, I'm hard on myself because I know when I wasn't hard on myself and I didn't hold myself accountable, I know what that led to. And so now it's my biggest one of my biggest strengths is being hard on myself, and that's what's gotten me to my success, is that I'm hard on myself. I don't take no for an answer. I don't let myself go. I just keep going. I keep doing the necessary things. I stay driven. I stay with goals. I don't give up. I stay focused. And then on the flip side, and when I'm hard on myself, I'm always did I do good? Did I do that? And I don't know where that comes from. I'm sure it comes from something deep rooted inside of me, right? But I also think it comes from just the fact that I'm just so eager to get better. That if there was something I didn't do right, or there was something I could have improved on, what was it and how can I get better?
Wow, dude. That's that's intense. It's just like me, right? It's the accountability thing, right? If I don't do something, I feel so bad, man. So terrible. If I don't get up and do my morning ritual, if I don't go work out, if I don't do whatever, I just feel I can't be the best person that I want to be. I just feel there's something missing, and it's just a lot of people, I don't know if they're conscious to that accountability aspect, right? I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I worked out or I was an athlete or what, or if it's in my DNA, but it's and I know your experience is now, and I wonder if it's in any relation to exercising, but it's like, if I don't get up and run, man, like I just feel like shit, man.
Dude, I know the feeling. Like getting up and doing something first thing in the morning is like game changing. You know, there's something about, for me, it's like I love like beating the sun, right? Getting up, like being super dark outside, going out, going for like a nice run, and just being in with like you hear all the sounds of like nature when there's like
it's freaking quiet. I tell you that much. It's like there's no, like I live up in Baltimore County, and it's like four o'clock in the morning. It's like no traffic. It's quiet. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think like at the end of the day, it's just you gotta like be so like meticulous with the things you know you won't settle for. Like you won't settle for X, Y, and Z. Like as far as like your values and your routines and stuff like that. And then let everything else kind of fall into place. I mean, because I used to be really hard on real hard on myself about working out, making sure I got in like 6 workouts a week, and I was eating this and that, and the more I did that, the more it was like put all this extra pressure that was unnecessary. That was like, all right, like at what point can you just say like, all right, like if you miss a workout here and there, it's okay. But I just had this mindset that I just, and I guess it was like a lot of people don't understand. Unless you've been on probation, you'll never understand that when I was on probation, if I made one false move, I was done. So I had this mindset there was no margin for error, because being on probation, you know, there is none. Like you can't go to probation and be like, oh, sorry, I smoked pot yesterday, or I did that. You're going back to court. You're violating.
Oh man, you're so right about that, dude. I could talk to you all night about this. What? Tell people how they can connect with you.
They can find me on Instagram at Doug Bopst, and then just www.dougbopst.com. So, I mean, dude, I appreciate it. This is awesome.
Well, I just want to end it like this, right? So when you look back and it's all said and done, like what do you want your legacy to be?
Ah, man, it's a tough one. I think as far as my legacy comes down to a few things. One, it comes down to how good of a person I was, how good of a man I was, how good of a husband I was, how good of a father I was, how good of like an example I was to the world, like as a guy, right? So that's a big thing for me. 2 is just kind of changing the way we battle mental health and addiction and stress, because I think right now we're going at it all the wrong way. We're more in the reactive phase of it instead of being proactive, instead of like, you know, doing the necessary things to help set ourselves up to be healthy and not be sick. And then also just not leaving anything on the table, man. Like that's one of the things I worry about, is leaving any of my potential on the table, and just making sure like that I gave it my best every single day, and that hopefully I made a difference in the world.
That's so big, dude, is leaving that shit on the table, like that regret. Like that's one thing that I've been trying to like reevaluate, is like, yeah, I've done some dumb shit in my life. I've definitely not tried hard in some aspects of my life, but it's over, right? Like it's like that self-forgiveness. Like, all right, so whatever happened in the past is the past. From going forward, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to leave everything on the table, and I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to be able to live with myself if I don't achieve whatever success that I think that I might obtain, but I'm going to keep working towards that goal no matter what.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
It's awesome. Doug, I want to say thanks so much for coming on the show, brother. This has been awesome. I really do appreciate your time.
Yeah, man, I appreciated doing it, and I'm glad we could make this happen.
I want to say thank you to Doug for coming on the show. I want to thank you guys for listening. This has been an intense conversation. I hope it's been helpful for you. I hope that you made it this far and that you've gained a lot of great value. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, you can please leave a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast from. Please hit me up on social. Please follow me and the podcast. You can hit subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. You can also email me or message me at the website yoursuperiorself.com. Don't know if I remember if I just said that or not, but please do that, because I love talking to you guys, and I will talk to you guys later. The next couple of weeks are going to be hectic. It's going to be great. The podcast is picking up. I cannot wait to show you some of the guests that I have lined up. All right, guys, live your best self. Don't be afraid to acknowledge the power inside of you. Later.